Happy Sunday, everybody. We just got back from the Benbrook Artisans and Farmers Market. It was so nice to be back. Give a quick shout out to Simply Herbs for my cute elderberries shirt. I love it. I met them at Herb Camp at Oshala Farms, and she had a Choose Herbs shirt on, and then she opened me up to her store front on Etsy, and I was like, oh gosh, you're gonna make me go broke, because they all vibe with me. Anyways, I'm not known for short and sweet, but I'm gonna do my best. This is very, very personal, and I've been waiting for weeks now to be comfortable with sharing, and it's very personal. And the only reason I'm sharing it with you is because I'm a practitioner, I'm an herbalist, and I seek to do all things as healthy as possible, and I'm facing a serious trial that I want to encourage other people that it's okay. We are all human, and there's a strong possibility that we are all going to find ourselves in a place of the same type of vulnerability that I'm facing. So I want it to be an encouragement, and it's also an opportunity for me to share as a practitioner what I'm doing for myself, because it would be what I would encourage other people to do, but I'm not at liberty to give medical advice. So by sharing what I'm choosing to do for myself, I hope that it influences other people in a way that empowers them to be able to make decisions for themselves without falling into a fearful state. That's the biggest thing, is you gotta combat the fear and the excitement. And let me get into things. So the quick part is, I've been struggling for really as long as I can remember with my bowel function. I tend to be more on the constipated side, and that's TMI, I know, but it's important information. We really do need to know what's going on with our bowels and our gut. It's so super important. I cannot stress that enough. Anyhow, I'm 43 years old. Over the course of many years and decades, I've tried different things, and nothing has ever been too serious, or at least I didn't take it too serious until more recently, within the last couple of years. I had a bout, this is going to be more TMI, but I had a bout with very, very painful external hemorrhoids. Very painful. I have had 7 babies. It's not uncommon to develop hemorrhoids with multiple children. And so I had this situation I was facing, incredibly painful, but I did not want surgery. And so I looked into all kinds of different things, and ice brought me temporary relief, but what really helped me the most was getting a donut pillow. It did. It made the swelling go down. They took the pain away, and the external situation I was facing was taken care of, just that simply. And then I started to have bleeding from my rectum, and because of the external hemorrhoids, I just thought they must be from internal hemorrhoids. Internal hemorrhoids can cause bleeding. They didn't hurt, and so I thought, well, there's things I can do with herbs to help bleeding hemorrhoids. Piles is what they're known for in the medical world. And so I started to look into things for internal piles, and I made suppositories. I did certain enema herbal infusions, and it really did help. It helped to keep the bleeding at bay, stop it for a time, and I thought, good things were happening. Well, then we got busy with children and things that we had to do with children, and when you're dealing with things yourself, everybody else always takes priority, especially when you're a mom. It just is kind of how it goes. And so I got distracted. Again, I had no pain with the bleeding, and so I just, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. But it never really was completely out of my mind, because I was reminded every time I went to the bathroom there was something going on. And I had a little bit more of a concerning symptom too. I would sputter. Again, sorry for the TMI. What looked like powder almost from my rectum. Sometimes when I would feel the need to go to the bathroom, all that would come out was like this sputtered, powdery looking stuff, and it didn't look right. So I started to go see a colon hydrotherapist last year in the fall, and she confirmed for me that my colon was very dry and dehydrated, and it took probably 3 or 4 visits with her before I was actually releasing stool. During the colon hydrotherapy sessions, it would just be a lot of water and mucus, but then when I'd get up afterwards, I would release stool in the toilet. But to release stool with my actual colon hydrotherapy session, it took me, I'm pretty sure it was the 4th time I saw my therapist before I was actually releasing stool. And so that just told me my colon was really in a state of, I didn't know, atrophy or dehydration or really what was going on. So I decided that wasn't enough and decided to consult with a pelvic floor therapist. And I've had, again, 7 babies, and so pelvic floor issues can be an issue, and I didn't know if they were an issue for me. And so I saw a pelvic floor therapist for 6 or 8 visits, I can't remember, the start of the year of 2025. And she did find some things. She thought I had a rectocele and a cystocele, and those are prolapses, essentially. A prolapsed uterus causes a prolapsed bladder, and then the rectocele is a prolapsed rectum. And she found scar tissue around my rectum area, and that could go all the way back from when I was born. I read in my baby book my rectum closed when I was 3 weeks old, had to be reopened. That's all my baby book says, and nobody remembers it. So I don't have a lot of information about what had happened back then, but the pelvic floor therapist did say that she found scar tissue in that area, so she treated me for the scar tissue. So that was earlier this year. And then my youngest 2 children got funneled into, or I should say we got funneled into myofunctional release therapy with my youngest 2 children, preparing them for their actual releases. And so that was a lot. And then we did the releases, and they had to have, round the clock aftercare. And so again, my attention was diverted to taking care of my babies. And then they settled down. We got through things with them, and I decided to go see a proctologist. A proctologist is essentially a doctor who looks at your behind. It's a butt doctor, to put it simply. And she works at an oncology clinic, but that's what she is. She's a proctologist. And what I was going to her for was to see if there was any testing that could be done to tell me if there was something anatomically wrong with my function to release stool. I had seen a fascia therapist by that time. She worked on my C-section scar, but I've done things with diet. I've seen a colon hydrotherapist. I've seen a pelvic floor therapist. And the next thing was, hey, let's take a look at the physical nature of that area, the descending sigmoid and rectum areas of my colon, to see, is there a kink? Is there a bulge? Is there a mass? Is there something creating an obstruction in those areas that's making it hard for me to eliminate? And so I went and seen her on July 10th. And my husband accompanied me in the beginning, but he had to leave during the appointment. And by the time she examined me, he was already gone. And initially she said, when she gets somebody in there who has painless bleeding with the inability to go to the bathroom, that's 2 key signs of colon cancer. And I said, okay. And so, we continue to have that conversation. I let her know I'm an herbalist, that I am a believer in natural medicine, and that I was a naturopathy practitioner. And so that I had a lot of knowledge, but really what I was looking from her was there any type of radiology type testing that could help me see what that area looks like for me. And she talked to me a little bit, but she said, let's examine you. We need to see, what things are feeling like. And so when we got to the examination, she took less than 30 seconds, and she said, you need a colonoscopy stat. And she proceeded to say, do you want to get your husband on the phone? And I knew where this was going. And I held it together and I said, I'm okay. And she said, well, usually people do better when they have a supportive person with them or on the phone when they hear this type of information. Again, I knew where this was going. So I said, I'm okay. And she said, okay, I'm going to step out of the room. I'll let you get, dressed, and I'll come back in and we'll talk. So she came back in and she said that she believes I have a malignant tumor in my rectum. And that based on her observations and what she could feel, it's about 2 to 3 centimeters big. It's bumpy and flat, kind of like grapes. And she said with the size that it is, there's the potential that it could have spread. And so that's why she wanted to push the colonoscopy. I explained to her, I don't trust doctors, very plainly, that I was not going to consent to a colonoscopy. I'm not doing the petrochemicals to rid my bowels of everything in them, to allow them to stick a scope in me while I'm asleep and do whatever they feel at liberty to do. I had a gastroenterologist tell me that if I let him do a colonoscopy, if he found anything during my testing, that he would just cut it out. And I said, I don't want you to do that. He said, well, that's what we would do. And I said, well, then I'm not doing that, because I don't trust you. Now that you've told me that, I don't trust that situation. And also, I'm 43. A colonoscopy is standard of care for my age. And so I had nothing indicating I needed a colonoscopy at that point. And so I just said, I'm not doing that to the proctologist at this recent appointment. And so she was writing things down on this paper. And so by the time she believed me, she crossed it off. And I said, let's talk about things you recommend for laxatives, like natural things for laxatives. I want to do things naturally. I use Smooth Move tea. She said, that's fantastic. I recommend that to my clients all the time. And I said, what about diet? Like, what should my diet look like? I told her what I was eating. I was eating white rice at the time because it's gentle on digestion. She said, kick that out. We usually use that for people who have diarrhea, but it tends to plug people up who have constipation. So I was like, okay. She was plant-based. She's a plant-based doctor. I'm plant-based as well. And so we were able to talk through, plant-based things that I could be consuming that would help my bowels to be moving instead of plugging me up. Definitely hydration, the amount of fiber I should be having. And she said more than one time, you're asking me things because you're concerned about one thing, but I'm concerned about something else. And I had to explain to her, we're concerned about the same thing. I hear you. I'm not naive, but as an herbalist, I'm going to be using herbs. And if I'm constipated, the herbs I use are going to have a hard time getting to the places they need to go from the top. So if there are other places that may be affected, I want to be able to make sure that the herbs are reaching where they need to go. So I want to make sure that I'm regular. And so I think she figured out that, I was as concerned as she was, just not fearful. I wasn't scared. I did not feel scared. There's not one moment in time that I felt like this wasn't going to be okay. And it's because of all the preparation I did mentally. If I ever heard this, when I was in my 30s, and I'm going to tear up because it was hard and it's still hard to think about, but I had a friend that I loved and cared about. She wasn't my closest friend, but she wasn't my distant friend either. And she developed cancer in her brain. She had been diagnosed with glioblastoma. And when she was consulting with the doctors to find out what they were going to do for her treatment, she found out she was pregnant. And because she didn't want to lose her baby, she opted to do chemotherapy in a pill, and she opted to do surgery. Well, it got to the point where they could not keep the tumor from coming back, and it came back with a vengeance. And she was 38 years old, 5 kids already. And, our kids were similar ages. We weren't too far apart in age. We were both aquamarines, born in March, shared many birthdays together. And here I was watching my friend face this terminal situation right before my eyes. And it got to the point where they were using her as an incubator for her baby to grow. And they kept her viable to allow her baby to grow as old as possible, but she kept seizing while she was in the induced coma. And eventually they had to take the baby and they had to let her go. And I visited her when she was in the hospital, and to see her laying there it took away any innocence or any idea I had that I was immune to this potentially happening to me. Carrie was one of the most happy people I knew, loved being a mom, loved her family, and it was so heart-wrenching to watch her go through something like that. And it made me think, I'm not immune. There could be a day when I'm facing something like that, and I have all these little kids, and I need to know what I'm going to do if that's the case. And so back then I started looking into natural ways of addressing cancer, and looking into testimonies of people who had cured their cancer naturally. And I started looking at what did they do for cancer 100 years ago. What did things look like before big pharma came into the picture and before the standard of care took over. And I had the Hoxie clinic in Tijuana, the biomedical center, in my back pocket. Like, I literally have it on a note in my phone, and I've had it almost 10 years, a note in my phone, who to call and how to get there. You fly into San Diego and you take a bus into Tijuana, and they take you right to the center. So right there, I already had a game plan. If anybody told me, we suspect you have cancer, that's where I was going. Fast forward all these years, I've become even more knowledgeable of things that people used to do back in the day. And I'm talking 100 years ago, before big pharma. And one of the herbalists I love the most, you've heard me mention him before, Dr. Shook, has 92 hits for cancer in his book. He was an herbalist and a pharmacist in the early 1900s, the 1920s. And he has 92 hits for the word cancer in his book of formulas. And so amazingly, in our apothecary, I have all but one herb for the formulas that I'm using, and that herb had to come from overseas. It's on its way, but it's not here yet, and that's going to be the main one I'm taking by mouth to address things. So meanwhile, I've been working on keeping me regular with another one of his formulas and using herbs from the bottom up to address it locally. And so while I'm waiting for the other, that's what I've been doing. My husband has been incredibly helpful. He has been making all the formulas for me, making sure I follow them according to the timing and the protocol for the day. But our life is changing, and he is now going to be required to go to work, not be remote, but go to the office for 10 hours a day. He's going to be exhausted with the Dallas-Fort Worth chaotic traffic and just being at an office all day. And so we have hired help to train, to be able to step in for him, but it's going to be a process. And we've come to the point where we realize that I'm going to need to go somewhere for treatment. I'm going to need to go somewhere where they can just focus on me, that I can be in a calm, restful environment, not have demands placed on me, and just be able to relax and let myself be taken care of. And I want to impress upon you that I have not done anything. I did not consent to a biopsy. It doesn't matter. I believe that the body creates tumors to separate cells that are out of control from the rest of the body as a protection mechanism. So I believe tumors are actually a positive symptom from the body, and the body saying, hey, we recognize something's not right here, and we're trying to protect the rest of you. Okay, so that's what I understand tumors to be. And when you biopsy them, you release seeds, tumor seeds essentially, into the bloodstream. And I believe that's how I believe that's how malignancies spread, how they metastasize. And it can be where a tumor has metastasized because somebody didn't know about it, and I believe that's when the body outgrows that area, and so it's looking for another area to store the stuff out of the blood because it's just become overwhelmed. I believe that's the situation where you find people with multiple tumors and it's already metastasizing. I think that's what happened. And so I think biopsying A tumor is just a means to make things way more complicated. And honestly, I don't plan to do anything pharmaceutical wise, and so I don't need to know what stage it is. I don't need to know what type it is. I just know it's there, and I'm gonna address it because it's there. So we're looking at a couple different options. In this process, one of the things I hadn't done was look into crispy cancer. I've been familiar with crispy cancer for a long time, but didn't felt impressed to look into, his work. And I I ordered his Square One program materials. And so we just received them, and I was able to just flip through his book. I'm not going to sit and read the whole thing. I know a lot of already what it says, but I just wanted to see how he recommended people go about things. And he also says, if you got a bump, just assume it's malignant and treat it as though it is. Don't do all the other invasive things. And because I joined the program, I'm also in the Square One program private group on Facebook, and I have searched on there rectal tumors to see who else is dealing with similar things and concerns, and what have they done, and what would they do differently now. And also I've searched biopsy to see the people who have had biopsies, and I can tell you one thing: so many people who have had biopsies say if they had the chance to do it again, they would not have a biopsy. So I am not a medical doctor. If you are faced with this type of situation, I am not telling you what to do, but I am telling you for myself, I am not doing that. And I have held that belief for a long time. And so I'm now just doing what I said I would always do. Treat. That's it. With herbs, with nature. Because the Bible says that, we were given herbs for our service. His creation, serving his creation. And I think that's the perfect alignment. So anyways, I still have the Hoxie Clinic in my back pocket. The thing with the Hoxie Clinic is that they specialize in a special herbal tonic, and it's proprietary. I don't know if I need that, because I really believe that Dr. Shook, I really trust that a deceased man for some reason. I've studied his philosophy and his work extensively, and he aligns so much with what I believe. It's just uncanny that 100 years later that we would align as well as we do. But I'm putting my eggs in that basket, if you will, for now. I'm not opposed to the Hoxie Clinic if it becomes necessary. But in the meantime, for the care that I need, we're looking at the True North Fasting Clinic in Santa Rosa, California. So I already had a consultation with Dr. Alan Goldhammer, which was the founder of True North. And also through that consultation, he told me that he has a doctor on staff that he felt was very aligned with what I believe and how I want to take care of myself. And so I had my consultation with him this last week, Thursday. And he listened very intently, went through my whole medical history with me. I felt very respected and heard, and he would be my attending physician, and he's willing to put my program together the way that it will suit me. So not necessarily water fasting, potentially juice fasting, but my bowels need to keep working because I need to get to the point of being cleaned out. And so they have other therapies around their center that I would be consulting with, including a hydrotherapist. And I think initially, if I can imagine what they would do a juice fast. So I'm not having any food actually consumed. And then I would do the hydrotherapy sessions to clean out whatever is in my bowels. And then we would do an x-ray to see if everything is cleaned out. And at that point, be able to see if there is anything concerning in other areas than just my rectum. So that's as far as I'm able to go, as far as looking at how far it might have gone up, I guess you could say. And then they teach how to cook. Fruits and vegetables are incredibly important when you're healing from something like what I'm attempting, and hoping and believing I'm going to heal from. And calories are really important for me as well, because I'm underweight. I'm 5'7", I weigh 127 pounds. And, Dr. Sultana even said you should be up around 132, 135. And I already know that. And so they're going to help me understand better my bowel situation, and then teach me how to create a dietary plan around my caloric needs, so that I don't fall into a pattern of being underweight again, but that I'm also giving my body all the nutrients through food that it needs to heal and recover. So again, that's a True North fasting clinic in Santa Rosa. The Hoxie Clinic and both the Hoxie Clinic and True North are on Chris Wark from Chris Beat Cancer's resource list. So I was encouraged to see that. But a lot of other places are all heavily into nutraceuticals. And I've formed a position where I am against both pharmaceutical and nutraceuticals. I think they're two wings of the same not good bird. And I think herbs are what we have lost. And herbs they're organic in their state of being carbon-based. They're bioavailable because they're whole plant-based. And Dr. Shook talks heavily about the inorganic versus the organic, and how, inorganic may be not as detrimental at the forefront as synthetic. However, it's not bioavailable to your body, and so it is a Band-Aid approach, and it is stressing your body out in other ways that can cause slower collateral damage. Some things shut down your body's ability to detox, so you think you're doing better, and then things can come back with a vengeance. And so I'm wholly relying on whole herbs, organic based, carbon-based plant material to help my body heal. So I wanted to share that because I'm going to be going on our YouTube channel. I don't feel Facebook is the place to chart my journey. I'm going to be sharing on TikTok, and I'm going to be sharing on YouTube as we go along. And so at this point, it's been 3 weeks, going on 4 weeks that I've been at home doing self-care and self-treatment. We are looking at me going to the True North Fasting Clinic August 25th for 21 days minimum. Incredibly costly for us. Not as expensive as cancer treatment, like with Western medicine, not even close. But for us, it's a lot of money. And so we're looking at ways we may be able to be creative to try to raise funds. At this point, we've had a few donations come in that have helped us get some money to hire help. And so we have hired help that's going to start tomorrow. She's going to come for 4 hours a day, so 20 hours this week. And she's going to help do all my herbal formulas. And, she's going to help with things with Liam and Lauren, my youngest two babies. And even with my older two at home, help with like house cleaning, making sure the laundry's not falling behind, just those tasks that I'm struggling to keep up with right now with everything else on our plate. We are trying to keep Maker's Mark Herbals afloat. We're trying to keep the market that we founded afloat. We started a farmer's market in the city that we live in. Very fun, very exciting. It's a great distraction. Being at the market today was such a beautiful distraction. I felt normal in society, just enjoying the environment. But every time I go to the bathroom, I'm reminded that I can't forget about this, because it's not going to go away necessarily. I pray it will. I believe it will. But I continue to have symptomatic proof that things have not restored themselves. And so we're going based on what we feel, what I see, and taking it day by day. So I'm grateful. I actually feel like I'm grateful that I have this opportunity to show what can happen when you trust in the intelligent design of our bodies and in creation, and you lean on that and you overcome fear. Because I have little kids and I don't want to think that I couldn't be there for them. I don't want to think that I won't be around to love my grandkids. I don't want to think that my life is going to be cut short because of something like this. And it's emotional. I'm emotional, but I'm not scared. It's hard, but it's not impossible. And I believe with the right attention and not becoming complacent and distracted, and the right TLC, that I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay, and this is just going to be a testimony someday that is going to bless somebody else. And I hope a lot of somebody else's, because people are healing all over the world naturally from malignancies. 100 years ago, malignancies weren't this big bad monster. The people that are suffering the most are the people that are following the standard of care. And I have seen one too many people go from looking okay, healthy, like you don't see anything going on with them, to looking like skin and bones and walking like they're the walking, I hate to say it, but like they're the walking dead. Like they look like you just see no health in them. Their whole life is taken out of them. It's out of their eyes no longer shine. You just can't see any life in them anymore. And I've told my husband enough that, that's enough for me. I can look in the mirror and I see me right now. Even though I'm dealing with these things, I know that's what standard Western medicine has to offer, and I want nothing to do with it. Nothing. I'm not going to let myself melt away and succumb to that by choice. Like, it's just, I'm not going to do it. So, you can't see the battle I'm fighting, but I'm fighting a battle, and I'm going to share along the way as I feel appropriate, the things that are working, the things that we find are helping, so that if you or one of your loved ones or someone you know is facing a similar trial, that maybe I could be an encouragement to them. And maybe now is not the time, but maybe 5 years, 10 years down the road, you'll remember me, you'll think of me, and you'll remember, hey, they did this. This worked for them. This was their testimony. We're blessed to be a blessing, and we're given these opportunities, I really believe, to encourage each other and help each other survive and thrive. So that's it. That's all I've got to share at this point. If you want to follow along with the journey that I'm embarking on, or that I've already stepped foot on, we have a YouTube channel. There's not a lot of content on it. There are, I think, 11 or 12, maybe 13 videos. But they're educational. They were more to just let people know what we were as a company, what Maker's Mark Herbal stood for, the variety of products we carried, how to do a castor oil pack. And then when we have new products come out, I try to update there. But I just don't have time to do content creation. I'm too long-winded as well. Not great at reels and shorts. I'm much better for a podcast. I know that. So just trying to fit all those things in. But I am going to update on YouTube because I think it's the best platform. And then also I'll upload what I do for YouTube onto TikTok, as long as they'll let me. I figure as long as I'm sharing about my personal journey, what is there to censor? Like, this is me. These are my choices. I'm not telling anybody else what to do. I want to make that very clear. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I'm doing. I'm telling you as a friend what I would encourage you to do. But as a practitioner and as a fellow citizen, you need to consult with your doctor. You need to do the things that you feel are right for you. I consulted with doctors. I just have boundaries with doctors. And I'm allowed to do that because I am a grown woman, and they are not going to do to me what I will not allow them to do. Remember that. No doctor can do to you what you don't consent for them to do to you unless you're incapacitated. So I am not choosing to allow them to incapacitate me. And we're just going to figure things out non-invasively and the best that we can. So yeah, I'll leave you with that. And if you have any questions, if you want to talk to me privately, feel free to private message me. I'd love to hear encouragement. If you want to leave an encouraging comment below, please don't give me any scare tactics. I don't want to hear it. I'm not scared. I don't have fear. If you're a believer, you know, there's so much that can speak life in the Bible. Speak life alongside us, believe alongside us, have hope alongside us. That's all we can ask for. So we're going to keep trucking along. Maker's Mark Herbals is going to stand on its own 2 feet. We're going to keep doing the good that we're doing in our little corner of the world. And I'm going to walk out this testimony for you in real time. And I hope that it blesses and encourages you. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.